Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I told y'all I was going to do a live every other Friday. So I did change the time though to 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So let me know if there is a better time that works for you guys. Oh, this light is like really weird. But let me know if there's a better time. I did change the time. Last time, I think we did like 2 o'clock. So this time I'm doing 5 o'clock, and I know school has just started. So please let me know down in the comments if there is a better time that you want me to go live. I am dying to know, so that I can accommodate you all's needs. I definitely want this to be a reoccurring thing with us so that everybody gets what they need. All right. So mark your calendar for every other Friday where we'll be doing a live where I'm able to give you different tips, tips and strategies and so forth. And also, like with any of my lives at the end, you are more than welcome to leave any questions and just interact with me. So if you have any questions when it comes to education, then this is the place to come so that you can get all of your questions answered. All right, so today we are talking about 10 mistakes that I see teachers make over and over and over again when it comes to learning centers and differentiated instruction. Oh my goodness. So let me know down below in the comments if you guys make any of these mistakes. So if you hear a mistake that you're like, guilty, please let me know down in the comments which one of these mistakes do you guys make, or have you seen anybody make any of these mistakes? So we're going to go over 10 mistakes I see with both learning centers and also with differentiation. So make sure you guys are commenting below. So our first mistake is I see teachers think that centers or learning centers, stations, whatever you want to call it, is just for lower grades. No, the whole meaning and reason behind centers is for differentiation, and kids of all ages need that. Hey, so all kids need differentiation. So there's not a age where centers aren't appropriate. So kindergarten all the way through fifth grade, they all need centers or stations, whatever it is that you want to call it. The second mistake I always see and hear from teachers are they think that advanced students don't need centers. So I hear this, well, my students are either on level or above level, so they don't need stations. Or I hear, well, I have an entire class of gifted, so I don't have to do that. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is a myth. That is totally not true. Centers are not just for EIP students, and they're not just for kids that are, behind level, but centers literally are made to meet kids where they are and push them to the next level. That is the case whether they're already a year ahead, if they're on level, behind level, etc. Kids of all ages, yes, they all need centers. So let me know, have you or anybody that thought that? Like they thought like, okay, I have these advanced students, they don't need this. I hear that so often. Another myth that I hear, hey. Another myth, today for those of you guys that just learned, we're talking about 10 learning mistakes that I see people make when it comes to centers and also differentiation. And so let me know down below in the comments if you believe or you have made any of these mistakes, or if you have heard someone else do this or believe this. So the next thing is I see teachers often think that every center or every activity that a child has to be differentiated, or it has to be different for every child. And that's simply not the truth. There are some things that you want all children to be able to know, right? So when we look at standards or things that kids are supposed to know, all kids are supposed to know that. Therefore, all your students within a classroom needs to be able to do the activity. So I see a comment that says, my favorite part of centers is being able to have those small group sessions. It's actually a breath of fresh air. Yes. So this is one of the benefits of doing centers, is so that you can have the time to do either guided math or guided reading or close reading, whatever you do at your station. The other kids in the centers have to be occupied doing something, right? And that leads me to the next thing when we talk about having something for all the kids, the other kids to do. Um, the next mistake is, I also see teachers, they don't prepare enough activities. So what ends up happening, if you don't have enough things for kids to actually do, guess what they end up doing? Can anybody guess? What ends up happening? Let me know in the comments. When kids don't have enough to do. Hmm. There can be a few things. I have seen, this go a few different ways. So what would kids do? Okay, so you say, hey, you guys go do this 10 question worksheet. I'm going to work with this group right here. What do kids naturally end up doing? I see talking. Yep. Being bored. Yep. Playing. Behavior issues. Yes. Yes. Behavior issues. The most. I love that. The most. And more behavior. Yes. Kids are kids. They're naturally going to start acting out. Kids are naturally going to start misbehaving. Kids, think about it. If you were at work and you don't have a task or you don't have something to do, what are you going to do? Like, probably get on your phone. You're going to start talking to your coworkers. You may get in some behavior issues yourself. Hopefully not. We don't want anything to happen with that. But naturally, that's just a human nature. Yes, I think I had a call coming in, so I had to click off of that. But hopefully the live should be working again. Y'all let me know if the picture didn't come back. But yes, so those same things are the said with a child. So they'll end up repeating bad behaviors, or they'll end up repeating the activity that you just gave them. And that's completely pointless. Another thing is, I see another mistake is you don't plan long enough activities. For example, you give kids 15 minutes to do an activity that probably could take them 5 minutes. And when this happens, you end up having kids finish, and then you're not done doing working with some other group of kids, and it goes right back to what we just talked about. So the next mistake, so you have to prepare enough activities, but you also have to think about time wise. If you do a 15-minute stretch or a 20-minute stretch, think about it. Every child needs to have something to do that lasts for that time. So one tip you can do is always plan over versus under. All right. So another mistake I see with that is no early finisher activities. It could be okay. You could plan like in a 20-minute span, you could potentially plan a 10-minute activity that you want a child to do. Perfect. But think about it. When they're finished, what do they go to next? What do they do next? So another thing I've seen that's very effective is like to have a bucket of early finisher activities. So this could be a bucket of games. It could be a bucket of things that will keep a child entertained but are also still educational. So then if your 10 minutes goes up, every child knows to immediately go to the early finisher bucket and pull out another activity so that they can continue working. Another mistake I see so many teachers make is they print and buy all the Teachers Pay Teachers. Hopefully you guys have been on Teachers Pay Teachers. If not, Teachers Pay Teachers is a website that a lot of teachers use that have printables, games. I sell all my products on there, all my games and stuff. I also sell on Teachers Pay Teachers, but they have kind of all of that in the bank, and and you kind of go and buy things off of Teachers Pay Teachers. But I see teachers buy all of the Teachers Pay Teachers task cards. Okay. And then you use those task cards and you don't look over them. You don't make sure that they align. you don't do your due diligence. And what ends up happening is, one, a child's learning something you have no idea what they're learning about. You don't know if it aligns. You're just trusting the person that made it. And yes, that's a big, portion of going on Teachers Pay Teachers. However, when we do this, if a child has a question or anything comes up with that activity, well, you have now lost your authority when it comes to that, because you don't have any idea what they're doing. And also, if you're going to waste a child's time, like, don't waste my time. So if you're going to waste my time doing something, then make sure that it aligns with what you actually want them to do. Like, that's just, imagine that being you. You guys know, do y'all remember, like, back, especially like in college, I feel like teachers always gave just activities, busy work, so to speak. That's what we used to always call it, busy work, busy work, busy work, busy work. And so when you're given busy work, you don't end up doing it. You naturally don't do it. Or you don't put your all in it. You just kind of do it to complete it. And this is exactly what children end up doing when you just print out a Teachers Pay Teachers worksheet and just give it to them. So let me look at the comments. So somebody said, we always had an early finisher checklist. I like that, a checklist. Then if you were finished, there would be a cup of activities to choose from. I love that. So then you add the voice and choice, which goes back into differentiation. Yes, that's one way to avoid that mistake. So, Teachers Pay Teachers got me. Yes, it gets us all. I love Teachers Pay Teachers. Made a lot of money off of me first year, all the years. Like, the one good thing about Teachers Pay Teachers, you can find stuff that once you buy it, you have it for a lifetime, right? But even with that, don't make the mistake of not looking back over it. Always go back over it, review, know exactly what children are doing when it comes to those activities. The other mistake that a lot of people make is they do not do differentiation. So that means that every child does the same thing, no matter what level they're on, no matter their background, previous background, anything. Everybody's doing the same thing. And what ends up happening is, think about it. You have some kids that might be too easy. If you look at what was that story called? Oh my goodness. Goldilocks and Three Bears. Ooh, I don't know why I forgot Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? You had the porridge and the chair. One was too hot, one was too cold, one was just right. Then the chair, one was too small, one was too big, one was just right, right? So that is just how, like, differentiation works when it comes to children. You want to find the just right activity for them. You want to find exactly where their struggle is in order to them to move forward. Because if something's too easy, they're not going to do it. They're going to breeze through it. They are going to halfway do it, and they're not going to give it their all. If something's too hard, what ends up happening? They give up. That's just natural human instinct. If it's too hard, they're going to give up. If it's too easy, they're not going to put their all into it. So you want to find just right activity. So one really good thing you can do is make sure you're thinking about it. Now, you might be saying, okay, but earlier, you stated that one of the mistakes is that teachers and people think every center should be differentiated. So this is what I'm saying. Some centers and some stations are purely for differentiation, but every station doesn't necessarily have to be. So there are going to be certain tasks. You got to think about it. Okay, if I just taught main idea, for example, right? Main idea is a grade level standard and expectation. I want all my students to be able to do this, right? So you could take that same exact idea, main idea, and break it into two different stations. Okay. So maybe you have one station that has main idea differentiated activities. So that station would have the different levels. Maybe you have a below, an on, and above, right? And then maybe you have another main idea activity that you're able to assess where all your students are. So that way you have both going on, right? And you're not having to do all the work making sure everything is catered to every single child, because then you're going to be stressed and you're going to spend a lot of your time at school and planning, and your mental health is more important than that. So another thing that I see, another mistake, is no accountability. Yes, these kids need accountability, you guys. So whether you are at home, whether you are in class, whether you have one kid, whether you have 24 kids, if you give a child something and there is no accountability on their behalf, they are probably not going to do it. If you have a task at work and there's no accountability, as in nobody's going to check to see if you did it, nobody's going to ask for it, there's no reason that you needed to sit here and do it, are you really going to do it? Just think about that. Like, if you don't have to turn it in, if nobody's going to see that you did it or not, most humans will not do it. That's just basic everyday life, right? So when it comes to like creating an environment where you create accountability, think about, okay, what do I want this child to master, and how will I know if they mastered it? Even if you have a simple, now you can't say everything needs to be turned in. You can't say, I need to see everything you do, because realistically, you are one person. And if you have to do this for 20 kids, you are going to be unsuccessful. So let's be realistic. So, for example, let's take that main idea station that I talked about earlier. You had one that was differentiated. You had one that every child did the same. So the one assignment that every child has to do, maybe that can be the assignment that everybody turns in for a grade. That way you build the accountability within centers, and you're not stressed out trying to be accountable for everything and everybody and all their tasks, right? And the other mistake I see a lot of people do is no rigorous tasks. That means that there's no challenge. You literally go back to the example earlier, probably just pulled everything off Teachers Pay Teachers. And a lot of that stuff is basic recall. So you have a lot of, okay, memorize this. What is this for? So you might have flashcards or task cards that are very basic. And when you have very basic recall activities, what ends up happening is you don't create that challenge. And without the challenge, people really aren't going to grow. Without the challenge, nobody wants to sit here and learn. So make sure that there is some sort of challenge. So you want to do things such as like create your own test, or create your own assignment, or just think about how you can take something basic and kind of amp it up for students so that they can be more rigorous while they're in their centers. So just to recap, today we went over 10 learning centers when it comes to differentiated instruction, whether it be in the classroom, like in a big classroom, or even if you just have like differentiated like pull out groups. A lot of people do like ESOL or gifted. So let me know down below in the comments, do you or anybody you know make any of these mistakes? If they think that centers are for younger kids, like their kids are too old for centers. If they think that advanced students just don't need centers. If they think that every center activity has to be differentiated and they're spending all their time planning. If they don't prepare enough activities on the flip side, and then kids end up misbehaving or repeating the same things over and over and over and over again. If you don't plan enough activities, so then you get kids end up bored. If they don't plan for finishing activities, make sure that you go back, look over all your Teachers Pay Teachers task cards and what you have the kids actually doing. Make sure that at least 1 to 2 centers are differentiated, because that's another mistake, is no differentiation. Make sure that all your centers, or at least some of your centers, have some sort of accountability, and make sure that your centers have some rigor. Yes. Somebody said, great video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So like I said, I'm doing this every other Friday. Let me know if there's a better time. So right now I was thinking like everybody's going back to school. What time can we get on here live and chat? So I did this one at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Let me know down below in the comments if there's a better time. And we can just readjust the time. But yeah, so there is my Friday tips. Thank you guys so much, and see you guys next week, because next week I'm actually jumping into guided reading. Oh yeah, if you haven't already seen, I have an entire comedy part 3-part series. We have released part 1 and part 2. I did it with the Mompreneur Plug. So I will actually link that below. You can also go to the main part of my YouTube channel and see part 1 was all about Miss Jenkins, which is a YouTube celebrity, and she was registering her kid. And then part 2 is me giving some new teacher tips. And then you have to stay tuned, because next week, part 3 is how to set up your guided reading area. All right. See you guys next week. Have a great weekend.